is it looks like the new attacks are turn-based, but they are partially like time advanced. So if you dilly-dally, you still get whacked.
Oh. Yeah, Max was saying that like when you look at your Pip-Boy, it used to sort of pause the game, and then you had a chance to sort of think about things and regroup.
Yeah, not so much.
But now, no, it doesn't do that. The game continues to go on, and you can get whacked by something while you're looking at your Pip-Boy.
Your Pip-Boy was your like way to slow down things and go, okay, I need a minute to think here. I gotta strategize before I get whooped.
Yeah, so
I haven't played it yet, but that's what I garnered from the videos too. I thought, oh, that is pretty cool. So it's much more accurate seeming kind of combat. Really puts the pressure on. Because the VATS made the last one too easy, I think, in some ways. Having VATS at your disposal and being able to stop every bit of the combat. But that's not what we're here for.
Well, certainly it is, because we're going to put that in the show notes, and everybody's going to come see what we talked about.
There we go. All we got to do is put Fallout 4 in the show notes, and people will show up in droves.
That's right. You know, personally, I hated Flappy Bird, but hey, let's talk about it.
There we go. Oh gosh! So we're live, and I'm live stuffing my face. So I'm at least going to mute, so you don't want to hear me smacking my lips over here.
All right. Well, let's start off by saying that Corona today announced alpha support for tvOS.
Yay! Super excited.
Yeah, absolutely. Rob?
Charles?
Yeah?
Do you want me to post the Hangout information to the tvOS thread and see if some people there might want to join us?
Oh, absolutely. Go ahead. We have a Hangout imposed limit of 10 people. The more the merrier.
Yeah.
It would definitely be good. So for the people, while we're doing that, for the people who will watch this later, you can find a blog post over at coronalabs.com/blog, and there is a full announcement there that Walter put up on all the details, sort of like alpha versus beta, kind of setting expectations and things like that. The general gist of it is that this is alpha. It's usable enough for you to start playing with it if you want to use create apps for Apple TV, but it's got a bunch of rough edges. So the tvOS and iOS are related in some ways, but very different in others. So we wanted to make sure to put that out there for the community so that they could start experimenting with it, start learning from it, but at the same time with the strict understanding that it's alpha. Way alpha, and we've got the Pew Pew example working. So if you download Corona and you look in the sample code, there's a Pew Pew example, which is kind of a desktop multiplayer demo, and you can get that running on Apple TV. So the other, I guess, whatever interesting points are there, Rob?
Well, I think for me, the biggest takeaway right now, and we can't express this enough, this is an alpha build. Nobody's attempted to submit something to the store yet. We have no idea if that's going to work. I think we can say with certainty that you cannot submit to the store from SDK right now. In fact, we disabled that build. We think you might be able to from Enterprise. And I don't think really any of us have gotten far enough along to where we have something submittable yet. That said, I've taken one of my games, Christmas Hijack, and I'm pretty much have it functional on Apple TV. Of course, it doesn't do things like Game Center and in-app purchases and some of those things that I definitely know we don't have yet. I mean, it's just pretty much just straight up you play the game and you move along. Got some tuning to do on it. Obviously, when you start trying to use joystick-style axis to move your players around, it's a little bit different than tilting the device or using a virtual joystick to make it happen. But it's it's definitely a doable process. We've gotten a lot work done to get it to where it's at, but we definitely wanted to get everybody a chance to get in and start playing with it, even though we know it's not as polished as it should be.
Hey, Rob?
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Charles.
Oh, no, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Okay, I was going to ask. I'm going to read the article, the blog post. There's 2 of them, but just a quick question. Is it a side load like the iPad or the iPhone? You got to plug it in with the FireWire or whatever it is, and I see Michael nodding his head. So it's a standard side load.
Yeah, there is the Apple TV ships with a USB-C cable, and you plug one end of the USB-C cable into your Mac and the other end to the back of the Apple TV, and you can sit there and build for a device from the SDK, and it'll install it on the Apple TV for you.
Do we know if the non-dev
you don't get icons, but or from Xcode, I hit the build button or the play button, and it will compile it and copy it over to the Apple TV and run it on the Apple TV for me. It's pretty slick.
Do we know if the non-dev kits ship with that cable? Because I know you got one of the early access dev kits.
I have no idea. I was in Best Buy for a while yesterday, and I didn't even see any of the new ones there yet. They were still trying to get rid of their $69 model ones.
Pretty sure it's just a standard cable, though. Shouldn't have much issue finding one.
Yeah, it's a standard USB-C cable, which is that new one that Apple's using for their new MacBooks.
All right, that's good. Because I'm not going to have one in my catalog for a while, my catalog of devices, that is. So I'm probably going to have to find a friendly person to test things for me.
I'll confess, it was a thrill the first time that I hit the build button, because I started out in Enterprise before I did the SDK builds, and to see it go over and fire up, and with really old and ugly Corona code. I mean, this app code here is storyboard based, and 2 or 3 years old code, and get the game running without a lot of effort was pretty amazing.
Other than getting rid of storyboard.
Pardon?
Well, you have to get rid of storyboard for the newer builds.
Well, I can copy it from GitHub, so.
True.
Storyboard will live forever.
The assets here. I mean, I've got regular 4X assets for the Retina iPads, and it looks just as good on the TV as it does any other device. So. Now, my graphics suck. I mean, it's not a great-looking game, but...
So it doesn't look great on a big old 1920 by 1080 television?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't put it on the big 58-inch at home yet, but...
Gotta do it.
Had it on a 24-inch or 27-inch. Not too bad.
Gotta do it. I'm sorry I'm eating. I'm so hungry. I haven't eaten for hours.
So a couple of the other things to note are, again, this is alpha, very, very alpha. I think we'll say that about 20 more times before the Hangout's over. But
it's alpha.
It's alpha, and so one of the things that you have to be aware of is, and this is true for if somebody were building with native code. There's a 200 megabyte limit for your app size, and Apple, of course, wants us to do on-demand resources, which basically means we download those resources that we need when we need them. Well, there's another thing, but anyway, the local point. The point is that some of these things are not included already in this version, in this alpha version. So there may be some instances where we have to be creative when implementing things. So is that fairly vague? Is that fairly Rob or Michael, either one of you want to clarify on what that really means?
Rob?
Am I here? You guys
Yeah,
hear
you're
me?
here. Yeah, we
Okay.
hear you.
My thing is showing on off air. I don't know what that means. So what was the question again, Charles?
Well, really, yeah, that's okay. We're talking about things that are like, the size of your app, how much you can have, and what your local storage is like, and on-demand resources and things like that, and whether or not these things are available to us in this alpha version.
I would think right now you should plan to try to keep your app under 200 megabytes, at least for the short term. We've got to figure out how we can do the on-demand stuff. It might be possible that you could host your own and use network download to download a zip file and unpack it. But I think there's not a lot of local storage, so these on-demand resources have to be ones that can be thrown away. So you just can't like grow a gigabyte app from downloading things. So
Yeah.
I'm not sure how that's intended to work because they don't want you eating up a whole lot of space.
Well, each app by default, just on in iOS land or OS TV land, the apps are limited to 200 megabytes. So that's kind of the footprint of the app on the device, and then after that, you get into this on-demand resources. So Apple wants developers to get into their habit of downloading what they need before they need it, right? So they don't almost like putting a stub on the box, and then you're like, oh, I'm gonna load up a new level, so I go ahead and load that up before the user needs it, and then I'll present it to them. And then over time, the OS is supposed to be smart enough to manage the resources. So if the person has a whole bunch of apps on the box and TV shows or content or whatever, then the box is supposed to be able to be smart enough to say, oh, I need to delete some resources so I can download some more stuff. And as I understand it, right now, the alpha version of this is not plumbed for on-demand resources. So yeah, you probably want to keep your app to less than the 200 megabytes and make it just sort of a self-contained unit that doesn't really need to pull any on-demand resources.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of hit something there, Charles, that I think is a great description. This is a TV platform, and when Apple's writing some of this, they don't just have games in mind. They've got YouTube and Hulu and things like that. And when you think about an on-demand resource, if you're watching like your cable TV or satellite, that's your DVR. You've only got so much storage to download and save programs, and after a while, it starts deleting your older stuff to make room for your new recordings. So, maybe that's how Apple's thinking about this on-demand resources. And so you download some levels, and after you're done playing them and you download a new level and you're running out of space, it'll get rid of an old level.
Yeah, so. Exactly. And then there is though some sort of local storage though, right? Some sort of, besides the footprint and the on-demand, isn't there something for? I was looking at this earlier. It seemed like there was another piece of.
Yeah, there's like a tiny bit of storage that you can download too. I don't know off the top of my head what it is. It's either like half a megabyte or something like that.
I would think that'd be maybe around what saving settings or something. I mean, what would you do with half a megabyte?
I don't know. You're supposed to also have like iCloud syncing and stuff like that, which we don't support, which is a little bit different than the on-demand resources. I'd say those two things and the lack of top shelf and app icon, which are different in tvOS, are like the three major things that we need to get in before this goes into beta.
Yeah, so anybody who's not familiar with tvOS, basically there's whenever you put when a user puts your application into the top row of apps on Apple TV, then there's a top shelf image that shows up, and it's kind of a marketing promotional image or whatever that is related to your content, whether it's game, movie, whatever. And so yeah, that needs to be packaged along with the application and some other things, right? So I think for that you'll need to have Enterprise in order to be able to get access to that, because the build process, as I understand it, the build process that you normally go through when you're doing a regular application isn't set up at the moment to support bundling all that stuff together, so you have to use Enterprise in order to be able to do that. Rob, did you say you app icons, was that the last thing that you were trying to cobble together so that you'd be able to publish something?
Yeah. I mean, I can get app icons through Enterprise. You drag the images into Xcode and it builds these layered resource image files for you and inserts them into the assets bundle and some big binary that holds all the images and stuff. And that works pretty well. But you're supposed to be able to create these layered images using either a Photoshop template plug-in tool they give you, or a standalone app that Apple provides. And then once you've got this file, you should be able just to put it in your app bundle and then use your stuff in your info.p list to reference it. But I wasn't able to get that working in my research through the Apple forums and things like that. Other people were struggling with it as well. The only way people can seem to get the app icons to show up is to go through Xcode right now.
In Xcode, you drop it into an asset library, right? I mean, it's
yes.
Yeah. So then Xcode is handling all of the behind-the-scenes bundling when you go to build and all that stuff. So, okay.
Hey, Rob, I'm reading your article as fast as I can here. The one that says getting apps ready for desktop and tvOS. But there's one bit that I'm a little confused on, and maybe I just didn't see the code yet. It says here, TV Apple remote inputs, X and Y axis.
Okay, so the remote has got a touchpad on the top third. The middle third's got some buttons and volume control in it, and the bottom third doesn't really do anything. And you can swipe your finger around the top third touchpad, and it will either generate up, down, left, right key events, just like you were pushing a D-pad around, or you can read it as an axis and get an X-axis and Y-axis, like you would an analog stick.
To be clear, you get both.
You get both.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so my question here is I get a key event, like an up, down, left, right, but I also can set this up like a joystick in a sense and pull in the axis?
Yes.
Yeah.
Sweet.
In fact,
I don't know what game I'm going to do first on this.
Yeah, the game I'm doing, this game I call Christmas Hijack, and it's your basic skiing game. So you need to move your skier up and down as the scene, flies by you. And for that, I'm using the Y-axis to move your player up and down as you ski, and then you push the button to get a fire event to fire the weapon that he has. But in all the other scenes, like help and settings and things like that, I read the controller as buttons because I just need to know if I'm going up or down or left and right to select my menu items.
I'm not going to use the word Jones in this time. I'm excited to try this out. I don't have one, no dang it.
So admit,
like, well, then go buy
pretty
one.
slick.
I'm very excited about this.
Well, the one thing we definitely should note is that there's a forum for this, and you can find everything, of course, on the announcement. And there's some resources at the bottom. So there's the tvOS Apple TV Alpha guide. There's a testing forum, and then there's the tutorial that Ed was just talking about. So, Rob, give us the lowdown on the forum. What's the purpose? Who should join it? That kind of stuff.
Well, so far nobody's posted in it yet. A little surprised, considering
everybody's stunned.
Well, like you said, everybody's out playing Fallout 4.
Right.
It's only been
Yeah.
out for a couple hours.
What a
Yeah.
bad day to release something
I have
new.
a feeling by the morning this will be a pretty hopping place, given the number of people that have posted feedback requests on it and stuff like that. But right now, I mean, we've been preaching to you guys over the years. The forums are a horrible place for bug reports and things like that. But during this alpha testing, it's a place that we can monitor and try to at least collect all the feedback without them really being formal bugs, because maybe we're still learning and things like that. So we want to hear where you're struggling, and if we feel that it's a real bug, then we can get a bug report filed on it. You want to hear about your successes. If you're able to beat this app icon issue with SDK builds, I certainly would welcome any input that comes along that way. So just post anything you feel like posting there.
Yeah, I would say this is definitely a community effort, right? I mean, the legwork has been done to make it available, given the kind of the out-of-the-box things that Corona does, right? Again, because iOS and tvOS are sort of different. It's amazing at all that we're able to just sort of say, hey, okay, here's some level of tvOS support, right? So in that, keep in mind the spirit of the thing and share, right? As you learn things, as you ask for help for things, just bring it back and share it, and it's really a community project.
Jason fell off. You're going to want to put him back.
Oh, okay, let him back in.
Oh, he's back.
What's the
him back
password?
He's muted, though.
He's permitted.
Like a speakeasy.
Sorry, I had full screened the Hangout, and I tried to use the
Man.
gestures to go back to a different screen, and ended up going backwards
That's funny.
in my history.
So I see here you said accelerometer too. Is that an actual accelerometer event, Rob?
I have not actually tried that, but my understanding that's how it works.
Yeah.
Michael, do
See,
you have
I'm
any more
thinking in
input on
terms.
that?
I actually also haven't tried it.
Say it again, please, Michael.
I actually also haven't tried it.
Okay. Well, given the chance, I'm going to put together a small test application and send it off to my test monkey.
Well, and I can tell you that it works because one of the games that I downloaded was a racing game. And you actually hold the remote control sideways. The pressure-sensitive part is your brakes, and then the like the play button or whatever is the turbo boost on it. But you steer just by turning the remote control.
Yes, this is very exciting. Originally I looked at this input not knowing anything about it, and I thought, man, that's going to be a pain in the neck to get a game through there because it doesn't look like it has much for inputs. But if it's got an accelerometer, it's got faux D-pad in a sense, up, down, left, right, and a joystick / mouse-ish input and tilt accelerometer, that's pretty cool. That's good. I wanted to ask though, the Android TV, I can't remember which one it was, but sometime back there was a device and it was like this. It had menu and home buttons and stuff, and some of the buttons were locked. The OS didn't pass them on. Did you notice? I'm looking at your article. I think already addresses this, but do they all get passed on?
No. The button that looks like a TV, Charles ran away so he can't hold his remote up. That is a hard-coded go back to the main menu.
I see the volume doesn't come through either.
Right, and the volume, and I don't know if the Siri button does or not.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
It does
cool,
not.
because you know what? I didn't want to use those anyways. The Fire TV input, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just like on Android. I mean, some of the Android buttons you don't get because the operating system wants to control those.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is the operating system is hijacking those and not passing them on.
Yeah.
So that's cool. It's just good to know in advance. And I see you actually put that in your article. I'm asking questions as I read, so you have to forgive me a little bit.
Yeah, apologize for the length of this article. And at some points it may get a little rambly, but there's a lot to talk about. So.
I'd rather have more data than less data. So
I think we've kind of experienced that on the desktop series that we've been doing on Mondays, right, Ed? I mean, it's kind of hard to like just say a few words about this.
It's only going to get worse too when we start talking about the heavy topics.
Yeah, I didn't realize how easy mobile development was.
I don't think it's necessarily easy, but you know what? I think with mobile development, because folks have been doing it for a while, they got a foundation. But in the desktop talk, people may not have a foundation, so we can't assume that, and we have to lay the groundwork for them to understand these things. And we're going to talk about heavier topics, things you can really, with desktop you've got a lot of horsepower, so there's a lot more things you can do than you can do with a mobile device if you want to be lazy or if you want to add a lot of extra features on top.
Well, the one thing I will say. Ooh, there's some feedback. The one thing I will say is for people who want to explore this some more, definitely go look at the tvOS alpha guide that's out there, linked to from the announcement and probably from the tutorial, I don't know. But there's a lot of information on Apple's site, and we've linked to as much of it as possible that's relevant. It's almost a little overwhelming on the Apple site. There's so many things to consider, but they always give recommendations like the human interface aspect of things, and little things like you're not designing an application for one person. You're designing an application that's going to be used in a group setting, and you're designing an application that's going to be used from 10 feet away. Those types of nuances. So be sure to consume this and also check out what Apple has to say about it, because they created it, so they got some opinions.
Is there a note in there that says, please don't do any flinging, dancing, throwing your arm
like a Wii?
Because we don't want our users to hurt themselves.
No, they don't think that they didn't say too much about that.
Like the Wii.
Yeah, right.
I have to say, not unexpected, but still extremely funny, all of the complaints and stupid things that people did originally with the Wii controllers.
Right.
Smacking their buddies next to them and hitting the TV and whatever.
Well, there's no leash on this, so you can't leash it to your arm.
But you do get accelerometer events.
I'm sorry, I talked over you, Michael. Go ahead.
You do get accelerometer events. I just confirmed it. As a note.
Turn it around. Does it have a silver back? Oh, so yeah. Apple. It's got to have the little sexy factor there.
Yeah, it's a nice feeling device. I mean, it's not quite. I mean, I kind of like the old one with the all aluminum case, but it's nice. And the really interesting part is they call this a glass touchpad.
Yeah.
But,
is it?
Well, I guess it is. But this part down here,
sapphire.
This part down here is shiny, almost like glass. But this part is not.
Well, they probably did that to give your finger the proper tactile feedback to know you're doing something.
Yeah, it does have a different feel. Yeah, and down here, if you do it down here, it actually feels sticky. But up here, it slides a whole lot better.
Yeah. Whatever phobic, whatever, you know what I'm talking about there.
Yeah. But they're also definitely different sizes. I mean, look at, yeah. So, anyway. And by the way, this one will work on your, this one will turn on. I think it turns on. Turn on both. See if it turns on both.
Well, that's what I really need, because I don't have the first one either. So.
Oh.
Mr. I'm Mr. I don't have that device yet.
Well, it can be confusing.
Last generation.
It can be confusing sometimes when you turn out and you have multiple devices and you go to turn one on and multiple things happen. Like I have an Insignia monitor on my computer, and then I have an Insignia TV, and whenever I use the remote for one, the other one comes on.
I've got a TV where it senses the Blu-ray player, and if you turn the Blu-ray player off and then you too fast turn the TV off, then when the Blu-ray player goes off, it turns the TV back on, which turns the Blu-ray player back on. You get into this freaking infinite loop of turning off the devices, and after that, you pretty much got to go over and push the power button because one after the other, they turn each other back on.
Now, let me ask you: if you're going to engineer a television and you were going to say it's off and it's on, okay, would you make the indicator? Would you make the visual indicator be on when it's off or off when it's on?
I would make it be lit when it is on.
You would think, right?
Yeah.
But these Insignia TVs, which is really a Samsung
device, is the other way.
They're the other way. They come on like it's off. The TV's off right now, and it's got this little red LED. I'm like, it burns all the time.
Is the light near the power button, the physical or the virtual power button, or the touch button?
I have one of those TVs. I believe it's near the IR indicator. I believe it gives you a sense of where the IR.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. But at the same time,
you need something to aim at.
No, but when you turn the TV on, it goes off.
It doesn't turn blue. Mine turns blue.
Mine doesn't turn blue. It just goes off.
And then if you press it on and off real fast, does it explode? Because that's the important.
I'm like, why are you burning this minute amount of energy all the time? Right?
Well,
when it's off.
It's going to last forever, and it's only going to burn like a watt over its whole lifetime, so don't worry about it.
Well, it's just my watt, and then there's 100 million other watts.
It's a conspiracy.
Well, you know, here's a tip that I don't know if everybody knows this, but Insignia is the Best Buy brand of Samsung. So when you go into the store and you're looking at a Samsung and you're looking at an Insignia, they're the same TV. Just one's made for Best Buy, and that one's generally cheaper.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean mine's pretty old at this point. I bought it, I don't know, in 2008 maybe or 2009. For what at the time was a very good price and would now be a very bad price for a TV of that spec and size. But at the time, you know, it gave a pretty good picture, pretty cheap, you know.
Charles,
yes, sir.
Are you sure about that? Because when Best Buy sold me the Insignia we have, they said it's really an LG, not a Samsung.
When I was researching televisions, that's what I read, and for all indications that I can see in terms of quality and functionality and stuff like that, it matches up to Samsung. So I don't know. Maybe they do multiple manufacturers that way. I don't know.
I don't know, because I mean our big TV at home's an Insignia.
Yeah.
But you're right about the light. This whole idea of, I mean, if it's off, you shouldn't have any lights. On should, indicate. And I don't know why TVs do what they do.
Yeah.
But one of the cool things is before I left on the trip, my current trip that I'm on, I took the Apple TV off my development area and we hooked it up to the big TV. And I didn't have to do anything. The Apple remote automatically figured out how to change the volume on the sound bar and through the TV. So I don't know if something's getting communicated through the HDMI port or what, but no programming on the Apple TV remote at all.
Well, I didn't actually think about that, but you're right. I mean, maybe you're just communicating the box and the box doing some sort of interface with the TV, because there was absolutely no, you back in the day you had to do like the series of up-down codes or whatever in order to pair them, and that didn't happen at all, which is kind of cool. But I do like the, I don't know if you, Rob, what do you think about the Siri part? Have you used that extensively?
Not in one little bit.
No. Yeah. Well, I played with it early on, and I did all the stuff that they show you in the commercials, and it picks up your voice, very well, and figures out what you're talking about. The only thing that it doesn't do, though, it doesn't seem like it's not really intuitive as to how it searches across things. Like it's supposed to search across Hulu and Netflix and other services, but at the time that I was testing it, I could only get it to search Netflix. I couldn't get it to search like YouTube or something like that. So, which I would love for it to be able to do. And it doesn't do text input very well, which is kind of sucks.
I wonder if I'm the only one in this boat on the panel. I mean, I'll probably end up getting one eventually. but I think I'll wait. I mean, probably until Corona support's out of alpha, and even then, until I've got like a concrete reason to do it. And I think my reasoning on that is I have two TVs. One has got a Roku 3 attached to it, which I think is a great streaming box, and I really have no need to replace it. And the other one I've got a Mac Mini plugged into, so it's sort of like, I got access to everything that way. So the only value it offers me is as a developer, and I just don't know that I'm, as of yet, that on fire about making TV apps. But
no pun intended. On fire.
Well, it depends. I mean, Jason, what apps do you have? What apps can you port? I think everybody sees this as a huge opportunity, and their 15th variation of a clone of Flappy Birds is going to make them $1 million. But I think because you can only have 5 things in your top shelf, you have to scroll to get to other apps. People are going to be really restrictive on what they install on this device.
Discoverability is going to be much harder, I think, and discoverability is already pretty hard just because of the crowded nature of the App Store.
Yeah, but a crappy game is not going to do well. And it just.
Oh, I'm out.
I'm not saying your games are crappy; mine are. But the truth is, we have a lot of people out there that are producing games that aren't stellar, and they think this is going to be a huge market for them. And I think in some cases they may be really shocked to find out that I believe these, there are going to be fewer of these boxes, and the people that have them are going to be far more picky about what they choose to install.
Well, discoveries are really a really interesting conversation, I think, at this point, because when you're on your mobile device, you can tap the button and you can install the app. When you're on your computer, you can tap the button and you can install the app. But when you're on your television, really the only way to go through and get the application is to search it out, or go to the iTunes store, look at what they're featuring, or potentially search something out. And like I said just a moment ago, text input on this thing doesn't work really all that well. And so it would have to be, voice search would have to be the way that people would do it. And even then, I mean, do we really see people kind of sitting around their living rooms searching for apps to install on their Apple TV? I wouldn't think so. I would think it'd be more like, hey, my friend told me that I should install this, and I'm sitting here now, and I'll do it, right? I mean, just like we do with movies. Somebody told me I should watch Paddington, and so I look it up on the TV and I watch it.
I mean, honestly, if Apple isn't already planning on doing this, I think the real thing will be to create either a section of the App Store app on a mobile device or a separate app that allows you to browse and push to your device.
Yeah.
Say, that looks good, send that to my Apple TV, I'll play it when I get home tonight.
That would be really useful.
I mean, that's how I shop for, I still use a PlayStation 3, and I don't browse the electronic catalog on the thing. When I'm goofing off at work, I go to Sony's website, see what's being offered free that month or whatever, and say, oh yeah, great, download that to my console, and next time I fire up the console, it's on there.
Well, that's the transaction, right? Is you go to work and somebody says, hey, how was your weekend? And you said, oh, it was great. I watched this thing, or I played this game, or I did this whatever. And they're like, oh, really? And they pull out their phone. And you're like, yeah, look it up. It's spelled this way. Blah blah blah. It's got a blue icon. And then that's the grocery list of whatever of content, right? And so they add that in their phone, and they move on with their day. So that sort of interaction has to continue with the Apple TV as well.
I mean, even at home, so many of us use an iPad as a second screen anyway. I mean, how often is your family watching something on the TV but has a screen in front of them? Really, the better way to download apps for the thing is to have your iPad in front of the TV, because it's much faster to navigate with your hands and your fingers and to type something out on that keyboard. And then just say, yeah, that looks good. Download that to that box, 6 feet away from you or whatever.
Right. Yeah. And you bring up. Oh, go ahead, Rob.
Well, I would say, when in Apple's human interface guidelines for this, it's one of the things that they, really point out. Actually, I lost my train of thought. Go ahead. I'll come back to it.
I think Charles is trying to fool us there, Mister. I got a tea bag thing hanging out of my vodka glass. I know
Yeah.
what's really going on here. I wanted to say that all I really heard out of the last 2 minutes was the Jason Goose off at work.
I think I think the main takeaway here is Jason Goose off of work.
Jason Goose off at work. Okay. Done.
And suddenly I'm available for the Monday calls.
Oh, sweats.
Nice. No, you know what I was going to say was I think an important thing for people to remember, and I don't who just said this, maybe I think Jason, that we sit there, my family sits in front of the TV watching their laptops, and so really you almost can branch out and not just think of it as Apple TV, but think of it as device that does not have a touch input, is not a phone, is not an iPad. So how could you leverage that? And I almost think about like if you had clients, right, who had TVs installed in locations and you wanted your app to push information or programming to those televisions, how would you do that? We think of it less in terms of living room and more in terms of form factor.
I'm sorry, my brain goes into sort of like developer mode here. I'm thinking of all kinds of different possibilities. I was thinking of what if in addition to the standard input, what if you decided to make like a gamer app where part of it was played on your device? This is where my brain went as soon as you said your family sits in front of the TV with their laptops or whatever. But let's say you got your iPhone, a bunch of people sitting in a room with an Apple TV and an iPhone. I see it completely possible that the Apple TV is the hub of the game, and everybody's got their own local screen doing something else, interacting with that game from their iPad or iPhone.
Oh yeah, like almost like a quiz game or something like that. It comes up and then
quiz games also. You put Jeopardy with the board up there, and you've each got your own thing. I mean, Jeopardy's perfect, right? Because now they've got the pencil. Jeopardy, Final Jeopardy, you get to write your thing out. It turns blue like that.
I gotta leave now, guys. I got things to go code. Sorry.
See, of all my games, I think my game Omni Trivia is the one that would have the most success in the TV platform because it's a family-oriented game, and if I can work multiplayer into it, and maybe be able to turn iPhones or something into controllers, then that would be kind of cool to be able to do that.
You should totally do that.
Sorry, Ed.
No, it's okay. Go ahead.
No, you first. You first.
MY developers use their networking thing. I know it's a little bit hinky, but it's still pretty good. It's free, and it makes it really super easy to connect two devices.
You have a link for that?
I'll give it to you in a second.
Yeah, no, but I mean, I was thinking, I went to a party, I don't know, a few months ago, and somebody we were playing some type of trivia game or whatever, and just, as like a fun thing, somebody said, oh, we've got this thing we pulled out for parties, and it was buzzers, and that's all it was. It was, because it was like the type of thing where you would buzz in, and it was a buzzer where they were all wired together, so whoever pushes first, you know who pushed first, because it lights up. And it's silly, and it's ridiculous, but it made the game 100 times more fun to play. And I just thought, this is cool, but these days everybody's walking around with a phone in their pocket that can, and you have to balance that, I think, in terms of making it an app. That's great, but, everybody's got to download it, you got to find a way to network them all together. That could be complicated, but if you could find a way to really simplify that process, I just thought that's awesome. I mean, I would totally pay for that,
This device is definitely going to either be wired or on a wireless network, right? So it's easily accessible from another device, which is likely going to be on that network.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's, I think it's the possibilities for it of, and it's and I've never played one, but that Nintendo sort of wanted to go with the Wii U, I think it's called, where they shipped a tablet-like controller that could interact with the screen as a second screen. And I think that is where I think there's some interesting possibilities for the Apple TV, and I think where you could find creative uses that might not make up for, that's the wrong phrase, but make it less of a distinction that it's underpowered maybe compared to dedicated game consoles and that sort of things. But if you can leverage the fact that, let's face it, if you're buying an Apple TV, the odds are you've got at least one other Apple product in your house, whether it's a phone or an iPad or what have you. So getting these things to talk to each other is, a real potential. It makes it. It's not making another game that you play on your TV, because it's not about making that PlayStation 4 game, but it's going to play on here, because if you want to play a PlayStation 4 game, PlayStation 4 is the better place to do that. But if you can find a niche for it, I think that's where you have a chance to succeed.
Jason, it's interesting you say that if you're going to buy an Apple TV, you probably already have another product in the house. I read this article years ago, back in the iPod days, the original iPod days, and they talked about this chair that Apple was trying to set up, that you would buy the iPod, which would get you to buy a Mac, which and I think maybe at the time I think the iPhone was maybe brand new or something like that, or so you would either buy the iPod or the iPhone, and then you'd buy the computer, and then you would have the Apple TV. And it was just sort of like, once you got one, you'd just be a shoe-in for the next product. So I think maybe Apple TV at this point, I don't know. I think most people would buy the phone first.
I don't know. The Apple TV's cheaper.
Yeah, you think so?
It doesn't have a monthly cost, except for
right.
internet.
No, this is true. This is true. I know. I have been witness to some people in the Apple Store, like, really, especially now that Apple is offering the payment plans. The Apple employees have to kind of break down what that means, because people are like, well, I can walk out with the phone and I have to pay what? And then they're like, okay, well, you have to pay this monthly, and what does that mean after the 12 months? Is it my phone? They really have to kind of answer all these questions, and I don't think those questions have existed before.
People got to do math. That can't be good for sales.
Well, yeah. Well, it's got to be easy enough for you to make that decision while you're standing there, right? You want them to buy, and so if they have to, like, unpack what it means and figure out what it means to their budget and all that kind of stuff like that, then you're like, well. And they're also the other thing that I saw was that people are trying to do the quick math to figure out what the thing actually costs, because that's a big discussion these days. The phones have always been subsidized, and so people are kind of like, well, how much is that going to cost me in the end? So they're trying to make sure they don't get taken. But you're right. You're absolutely right. It's a cheaper device than a phone.
And then there was see what you did? Stevie showed up. We all got quiet. Next time when you come in, you got to turn off your mic. You got to go, Zibalba!
That's a nice little sound bite. That should be the beginning of every one of your games.
Just come in. Oh. And then hang up real quick. What was that? It was the drive-by Zibalba.
I like those kind of catchy sort of little, things that...
Very unique. See, this is every time I see Steven, I don't even think Steven anymore. I just think Zibalba. I don't know what it is.
That's nice.
I think that because I know that Charles always is like, he's having trouble with the name.
I know it. I don't know it. I know it. I don't know why.
I'm not going to be invited back. So I'm so bad.
So speaking of the chair, of buying products and things like that, apparently iPad Pro goes on pre-order tomorrow. Show of hands.
I missed the date by 4 days.
Well, that's just pre-order though. The walk into the store is what Apple says later in the week, which that would be Thursday and or Friday. So
Well,
But
we were pretty good, though. We were still pretty good. Predicted the 7th. If it's pre-order on the 11th, that's reasonable, you know.
yeah, I didn't think they would do a Friday the 13th, but if they do, I'll be surprised.
Oh, it's interesting.
I don't think, I think it's more of a joke now than anything else. People don't really care, but still funny.
I'm not getting out of bed. What are you talking about?
I can see the headlines now. Man or woman gets run over by bus while on the way to Apple Store to buy an iPad. Friday 13th. Beware. Okay, so show of hands, who plans to buy an iPad Pro, either initially or eventually?
I'll say eventually. That's very optimistic.
I'll go eventually. It'll be my next iPad, but I'm still using a first-gen Air. I don't feel the need to upgrade anytime real soon.
Let's just say that the iPad Pro will probably be into its 2nd generation before I can get one.
I think that's Apple's big problem with the iPads. They made them too well, and they last too long. I've got a Retina, I guess the iPad 4, and it's perfectly fine. I have zero urge to upgrade from it. I wouldn't mind getting an iPad Pro for development purposes to see, what it's like, what it would take to try to get, work with things split screen. But where I think an iPad Pro's in my future is for my wife. She does a lot of stuff with Microsoft Excel, like with a family budget, and she's always like using the trick where you can drag a column down to auto-populate fields, and she cannot live without a mouse. And I'm thinking with the stylus, she might be more comfortable with the iPad than a laptop, but
Well, I have to say, Rob, you gave us the segue right there, buddy. Before the show, we were talking about somebody saying something about the iPad Pro being the replacement for people's desktops.
That's exactly it. Do you think that will happen? Tim Cook does.
For my wife, it very well could.
I could see it happening. I mean, obviously
with iOS in its current state, you don't think they'd need to make some fundamental change? They don't need to necessarily put OS 10 on it, but I think there's got to be more of a middle ground I don't know.
Not from what she does. I mean, we took her mother a couple years ago, and we're going to replace her old desktop and took her out laptop shopping. She came home with an iPad.
Yeah.
And she does everything she does on it. She's in her 70s. She can print from it. She can send an email. She can take pictures of the grandkids. She's happy as a clam. And I think one less laptop desktop in the world.
I think the big brands need to step up to the plate. I mean, there's been a lot of innovative indie developers who have created things and stuff like that. But people, when you start talking about Photoshop or some sort of serious application that people use on the desktop, it's just not there. I mean, just now Adobe is really beginning to see that their future is tied to the cloud, and that people want to sync up their devices, and start their work on one device and finish their work on another. And I think only now we're beginning to see them really throw their hat in the ring and come out with some really creative applications that fit their market. I don't know. Have you guys experimented with any of the new Adobe stuff?
No.
It's some amazing stuff. I mean, you take it really is tailored for the touch form factor. Like you take a photo and you can use the healing brush or whatever with your finger, and you can just completely remove things from a picture, and it's amazing the way that it works. It's really, really creative. So, it's just one example, right? And then there's apps like Procreate. I don't know if you guys have used Procreate, but it's fantastic on the iPad. I mean, it's like it's kind of almost redefines, or the overused buzzword sort of reimagines, being a creative on a tablet device.
That's the one with the edgeless canvas, right? It just keeps going.
No, that's a different one, and you brought that one up. I have that one here. That's Mischief.
Yeah.
Mischief has the infinite canvas. Procreate's more like it's just everything's just sort of really super optimized for mobile, and you can draw like let's say you just drew a circle. You can take a drop of color and drop it in that circle, and it'll fill that entire circle. So you're like, the speed at which you can do things and the way the interfaces works is great. I mean, they just come out with the third their Procreate 3, and they came up with some creative things that I was even surprised that like it was really good before, and they came up with these new pieces, and I was like, wow, I didn't even think they could do any better than they did before, but they did.
You're using a stylus, right? Or are you using?
I have several. I have an Adonit with Bluetooth, so it's got the little buttons, programmable buttons, and then I have an older Adonit that's just an old school. Oh, here it is. Just an old school. It's actually the one with the tip on the plastic tip on the bottom, so you can see your point, but you can't touch your screen. You can't scratch up your screen.
Mm-hmm.
And then I've got a variety of the rubber nibs, different ones that I have experimented with and stuff. So I tend to use this one, the non-Bluetooth one, which is the older one, just because it works just as well as the Bluetooth one. The Bluetooth one, only thing it's supposed to do is it has the programmable buttons, so you can undo and redo, and then it's supposed to have levels of pressure sensitivity, which really doesn't really translate very well. Doesn't work very well.
I realized the other day I've been carrying this Wacom guy in my bag for literally years, and it hardly ever gets used. But
yeah, is that the which one is that?
It's a Bamboo.
Yeah, I think I have the smaller version of that too.
This was, I think, this goes back long enough that, this was, I think, I bought a bunch of them at the time I was managing the mobile devices for my former company, and this was around the time either first or second generation of iPads came out, and people were asking about them, so I bought a bunch of these things in pristine shape because it's been just sitting in my bag.
Well, I've got there's a Bamboo one, and it's a little shorter, and it actually has a fabric tip to it, as opposed to the sort of the rubber tips.
This one's like sort of the little rubbery.
Yeah.
But it's got a nice feel to it. It's got a little bit of heft to it. I kind of like it, but never really have a cause to use it.
Well, the Bamboo with the fabric does really well. And it has a nice glide to it, but it still gives you a little bit of resistance on the glass, so you don't feel like it's glass. But at the same time, it's not the rubber sort of,
Mm-hmm.
And it's $20. So you're kind of like, out of all of these, like I think this one was like $100, and this one was maybe at the time, because I bought them in their heyday. I think maybe this one was like 120 or something. I don't remember, but this other one was $20 and it works just great. So
I lost my Surface Pen. I'm kicking myself for it. I lost it.
Oh no.
I know, because it really undercuts the fun factor using that thing.
You can buy another one, right?
Yeah, I can, but I just haven't gotten around to it.
I mean, they're $50, but.
Well, when you're on the work, why don't you go get one?
Yeah.
I promise that'll be the last time I say it. Maybe.
That's all good. Maybe.
Well, the Surface Pen, and I'm going to make this a show about pens, but the Surface Pen is, it's like, here's the Adonit that I was talking about, and it's, they're very similar in form factor. And then if you take a Wacom tablet pen, they're much shorter than that. So I like it. It's got a nice feel to it that the Surface Pen does. And I'm hoping, and the reason I'm bringing all this up is I'm hoping that the Apple Pencil will have a good feel and will give some sort of resistance on the glass. That's one of the things that Wacom does really well, is there's a resistance there that almost simulates pencil. So we'll see.
Sorry.
Oh, was I typing with my?
Oh, that's
sorry.
okay. Go ahead.
Well, I was gonna throw something out there to take it away from pens momentarily, and ask if anybody's done this, because I saw, and it sort of snuck up on me. I didn't realize it was coming out, but I was browsing the App Store the other day and saw that Fireproof Games had put out the third sequel to The Room, which I just think is an amazing series of mobile games. I have not played it yet, but I'm wondering if anybody has.
I have not. Fireproof Games. I'm looking them up.
Do you know The Room at all? Have you played it?
The title is familiar.
Oh man, they're a fantastic series of games. They're just the first one. It felt almost like it was a tech demo or something, but because it was small and focused, it's just perfect, particularly for an iPad, because it's puzzles, but physical puzzles in the sense that it's 3D. It's in a 3D engine, beautifully rendered engine. I might be using Unreal Engine or something like that, but you know, you manipulate. The idea is you have a device in front of you, a box that you can spin, slide things, and move things around, and it's sort of, you're trying to get inside of it to something else, and then it takes you to, and the second one sort of expanded on that, and instead of little devices, usually it was bigger rooms that you would be inside of. Then this is going to be a short conversation, but I'm going to say to you guys on the panel, go. I mean, it's got to be down to 99 cents or $1.99. They might even run a special, you know, on it now to promote the third version. I just think I mean, they cater to me because I like sort of old school adventure games, and they're not that, but I think they have that same sense of discovery to them, and it's just so. If you sit down and play it for more than 20 minutes, you sort of you almost forget that you're interacting with it through a screen because it's so tactile, because it's so, I'm going to move this around and use two fingers at once maybe, and it's just so smartly designed. I can't wait to play the third one.
176,000 reviews.
For the first one?
Or ratings on the Google Play.
I want to say it was Apple's Game of the Year like 2 years ago, the first one. The second sequel, the sequel came out pretty shortly after that. And I've heard a couple of interviews with like the founder or CEO or whatever of the company. There was a podcast that he had a cool interview on, and he sort of talked about the state of mobile gaming. And so I sort of like what they're about. They're just one of those developers where I go, you know, they're pushing the boundaries in a good way, and you know, it seems like they're doing so in a sort of a conscious way, and they just make good games. So.
Well, here's an interesting approach. If you go to fireproofgames.com, they have all their games listed, but right there in the top hero, you know, spot right above the scroll, they have iPad and iPhone help, Android help, PC help, and Gear VR help. And then if you click on, say, like iPad and iPhone help.
Is that a VR? Do they have it for VR?
Yeah.
I haven't used VR yet, but that would be an awesome game for it.
Well, they've got all these questions, like I'm stuck. There's no sound in the room. Why is there no sound in the room? And then the other one, I've downloaded the game on my iPhone 4, but it says it's not supported. What's that about? I mean, like they just sort of recognize all these questions, common questions, like right up front. I mean, as soon as you go to their homepage, and then they route you to all these FAQ kind of things, which I think is interesting.
Are you going to that on your mobile device?
No, I'm on my desktop. So it's, you know, does the room work on an iPad 1? The room crashes or doesn't load up properly. So, you know, they're not like hiding, you know, these, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not tucked away in their support documentation. It's like right up front of you know, need help?
The big old bold help button right up there.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting.
Oh, when you got 180,000 reviews, you better start answering the questions they ask.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And they have a help button on the menu bar and everything, right? So it's kind of like right up front.
Well, if you're jonesing for VR, they got a game for you, Jason. Omega Agent. Download in Samsung Gear VR now.
Samsung Gear, is that like a Google? I could maybe get around to one of those cardboard things. That's about all my budget will allow right now.
Buddy? It's the future right there.
Was it
And
the
aliens.
New York Times recently sent out cardboard in the Sunday edition? Did you see that?
Oh, I did see something about that, and I thought to myself I should go pick one up or something at the newsstand, and I didn't.
Yeah, you're right. You're right there in the New York thing. So sure.
I am. I'm putting a link in the notes. A really good podcast interview with the lead of Fireproof Games.
Okay, I got it. Yeah, maybe you should poke around, see if anybody's got an old edition of the Sunday Times. You know, and we would be willing to give up their cardboard.
I work not too far from Google's New York headquarters. I should find an excuse to go in there. I'll bet you they're just laying around.
I'm completely missing this reference to cardboard. What are you talking about?
You could probably do
it's
that.
Poor man's VR, man. You literally construct a cardboard thing that goes on your face, and you slot a mobile phone into it.
Yeah, you have to have an Android device though, right? Doesn't it have to be like a?
Somebody's going to be walking around and get killed by a car with a VR thing on their head. You know.
No, but it's a real thing, and the people say. I mean,
I thought the car was VR, man.
Is it going to be as immersive as one of these dedicated machines for it? No, but apparently it'll make you throw up if you play the wrong thing in it. So there's something.
It was so immersive right until the bus hit me.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I put the link in the chat. But you just slide your phone in there. It's like an old school viewfinder with batteries.
We're going back to our childhood days with those little.
Look at this though. This is something I've never seen there. They've got the jump,
again?
which is like a carousel that you put GoPros into to capture VR video. That's kind of neat.
Oh yeah. Of course, you have to buy all the GoPros, right? So that's expensive.
Well, to buy that many of them, I'm just astounded though, constantly by the price of those things. Just crazy.
Speaking of which, have you guys watched any 3D video? You know what I'm talking about?
Like outside the movie theater?
I'm sorry, not 3D video, but like 360 video, like the videos that like on YouTube. The video is shot where you can see the whole room, and then so imagine you're watching Julia Childs cook something, and then you can see behind her and above her, and
so you can choose what to focus on.
You can grab it and move the video around while it's playing.
Okay. Yeah. Has anybody ever been? This is me growing up in Atlanta. The cyclorama. Does anybody know what this is?
No.
It's like a painting, but it's wrapped around a circular building, and you're in the middle, and you sort of sorry, this has nothing to do with nothing except it jogs my memory to that. It's what that is. It's like a painting in three dimensions around you.
We're all going on our own mental trips here. You're doing that.
We need to make a Google Cardboard version of the cyclorama, if it's not all right.
I'll bring you back to reality. Best Buy is selling those 3D cameras now too. So you can just walk in the store and buy off the shelf.
Do you know how much they are?
No, we were too distracted looking at drones. So.
Oh, okay. See, I think that would be that'd be an awesome thing to have, especially if you're doing some sort of interactive video or something, right? Where people would want to watch, like they would want to watch you do something, but that they would also be distracted by things in the room. Like Ed, you're always talking about you got all these books behind you and stuff.
For a minute, I thought you were going to say I'm always distracted by something in the room.
Well, you've always let's think for a moment. You've always got your multi-monitor setup, and you've got these books behind you, right? And you know that while you're saying something, somebody's like, "Is that like Lilo and Stitch? Is that they're looking at the stuff in your background." And so imagine a video where they can grab it and then just slide it around and look at all the contents of your room.
That would be extremely wrong. Not acceptable.
Fair.
You shall not be doing this.
You shall not pass.
Ed doesn't have pants on. He's sitting there with no pants on.
Nice. Okay. We're going to boot Ed now. What are you trying to tell us, Ed?
Hey, I got pants on. I'm not going to stand up for you. Just kind of touch me on there. Oh, but why is it that that's the first thing that came to mind when I thought of people sliding around my office?
I don't know. I don't know, Ed. I don't know. Why is that?
Oh, my mind works in strange and mysterious ways.
Stream of consciousness. Yeah, but I think these 360 videos are cool. I mean, I don't know how practical they are or if they'll catch on, but they're kind of, you know, it's a cool novelty.
Well, I'm looking at it now, and now I'm going to have to watch one. I'm trying to catch up. You guys are all keeping it too much.
It's like
it's amazing. Oh, sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say it's like the real estate tours, you know, where you got the 360 of the house, and then you can drag it and grab it and look at the whole room, right? But in video form, in live moving video form.
It's amazing how far that stuff has come, though. I mean, I think about how in the mid-'90s I was working for a university, and we were playing with what at the time Apple had their QuickTime VR plugin, which was for, you know, System 7 or 8 maybe OS 9, and it allowed you to, you know, stitch together photographs that you took taken with a digital camera that took a whopping, you know, 160 by 320 image and cost, you know, more than my first car, and you'd put it on a tripod and take a bunch and stitch it together into this, you know, 3D thing, and now it's just like, that's what amazes me about, you know, I'm gonna go buy a GoPro camera at the thing, and it costs next to nothing.
Yeah.
And it takes these amazing images. It's crazy.
Yeah, but don't you wish you had developed the GoPro?
I wish I developed a lot of stuff. I swear, in 1997, I knew what. I think. Let me know if we've had this conversation. But like, I knew what a domain was. I knew what network solutions was, and I wasn't smart enough to go and squat on all the good domain names and not have to work a day in my life because I could just sell them to
Yeah, you could have squatted on them. You wouldn't even have to sell them for much. Just $100 a piece. You'd have been set.
It's like, man, oh man.
I tell you, I'll go one farther than that to say that I saw the opportunity to squat on domains, but then I let somebody's opinion influence me not to. And I think that's even worse, right? I think that's even worse. What? No, it was just somebody saying, you know, it was a very small perspective that they had. I don't even want to repeat it, but it was.
Squatters are Turks, man.
Not even that. I mean, that would have been more constructive than what they said, and it had more to do with the financial outlay that you would have to put in order to get it. And I'm like, yeah, but you'd be a bazillionaire, you know.
Exactly.
You know, it's like people who complain about having to pay taxes when they've made a bazillion dollars. I'm like, but you made $1 billion.
Yeah, I'm really feeling for you with your $1 billion.
Right.
I know it's really rough having to pay $200 million in taxes, but you still got $800 million.
Yeah.
So.
Hey, I'm all for not paying any more taxes than you have to, but at the same time, it's an admission fee for playing the game.
To be in the rich club or in the money club?
I don't even care. I mean, be in the low club. I don't care. As long as you know, as long as the money's coming in the door.
Some green stuff.
100% of nothing is nothing.
Yeah.
Actually, Monopoly money is not green, is it?
360 Fly, panoramic 360 HD video camera. So this is what Rob put in the chat. Interesting.
Wow.
Looks like a
Magic
one of
8
those
ball.
a Magic 8 ball or one of those high frequency satellite, you know, like the big golf ball that sits out in the desert someplace. You know what I'm talking about? Got the multifaceted.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I don't know what they're really called.
Do you know what you're talking about?
I don't know what I'm talking about. It looks like a big eyeball, doesn't it? It looks like you smacked a robot's eye out of its head.
And it landed in the desert?
No. This picture of this 360 camera, not the big golf ball.
I'm so confused. Are these the white ones?
Come on, keep up.
I'm having trouble keeping up with all these links I got to follow up on.
Well, it's a 360 Fly. It's available at Best Buy for $399.99.
I'm trying to figure out how do you use it though. See,
they're so cheap you just go get you a whole handful of them.
Go have a whole handful. That's what they want.
That's right. It's got 4 stars. Out of 25 customers.
3.8. Come on.
Out of 25 customers. Of course, if you're on Amazon, that probably means what? Because doesn't Amazon suing people who are doing fraudulent reviews?
I do not know.
You didn't see that?
I have to keep muting myself while I'm talking. I can't keep up.
Jill and I had this conversation the other day. We feel like you feel like you're plugged in, you know what's going on, and you go and have conversations with people and they don't know what you're talking about. And you're like, and we have these little worlds, right? We live online. We got all these Twitter and Facebook and this show and everything, and then you go have a conversation with a normal person and they're like, what? Yeah, didn't you see the new Tesla with the Falcon wings? And they're like, nope.
What planet are you from? Exactly. I'm closer to them, actually, being Mr. Disconnected over here. So.
Well, that's why when we're talking about cardboard, you're like, what? What? Cardboard?
Yeah, exactly. That's me. What?
Cereal box? What?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I'd be interested in cardboard if it wasn't just Android devices. Because that's, as I understand it, you have to have an Android phone.
I mean, I suppose there's not, if somebody took the time to, create a system for divvying up to, the screen of an iOS device, but Google is not going through the process of doing.
Oh no, yeah. Well, certainly not to get to people to adopt cardboard, or VR. I mean, it's sexy enough on its own, I think. So.
Hey man, watch it now. Sexy's my word.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Pantsless.
Yeah.
Hey! I got pants.
Also in the mobile world in the last week, as if it wasn't good enough already to be the developers of Candy Crush, then you get to get bought for $6 billion with a B dollars.
Was it 6? I thought it was 8 point something billion.
I thought it was 5.9, or was it 6.9?
Something. That sounds like something naughty. Hey, you got bought for something.
I tell you what, well, just 8, 5, 6. You just give me a
5.9 billion.
Yeah.
You know what? They got to be kind of relieved. They got to be like, I didn't want to tell him, but we're not making money anymore.
Yeah.
They're still making a few million a day. I mean.
Right.
You're not going to get your billions back.
Well, this is the other thing, though. I heard somewhere, or I read somewhere, or something that a huge part of it for, I think it was Activision who bought it. Like almost half of the cash they threw of that was in offshore accounts, meaning they're an American corporation. This was money that was earned outside of America. In order to be able to spend that on expenses, like they would have to pay taxes on it. So it ended up being like 1 billion of that or something like that was a gimme because they used offshore funds, because King is based in Ireland, I think. So they could spend this money without, it's like these huge, it's crazy. I mean,
tell you what, I got
finance that's so far above anything that I could wrap my brain around. But
I got $5 billion, a box of chewing gum, and some old Chuck E. Cheese tokens. Well, what you say we do a deal? Like weird stuff, man. But I hear you. Yeah, they probably had this money. They're like, well, we can't bring it back in. What do we do with it?
I can't bring it back in. I can shuffle it around though.
Yeah.
My kid really likes this Candy Crush. Go get me some of that Candy Crush.
That's right. You put your billion in. You take your billion out. Do the hokey pokey and you shake it all about.
There's some guy in Ireland who's pretending to be a leprechaun right now with a pot of gold.
Oh, man.
Oh, that's terrible, but I had to do it.
Oh, now you're going to get letters from the Leprechaun
I know,
Society.
people are going to be like, what is it? I don't even know what kind of ist that is, but some kind of ist. Somebody will tell me what it is. I'm not. Whatever it is, I'm just trying to make a joke.
If I could do an Irish accent, I would berate you, but I can't.
You can berate me anyways, but
I'm gonna fill in for Alex here and bring up the sell your baby analogy. Go for $6 billion. I think we'd all sell that baby.
Oh yeah, sure. No doubt. Well, you bring up a good point, Ed. That where they I mean, they kind of peaked, right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't understand this deal because if it's $6 billion and you make $1 million a day, that's still 6,000 days. You got to make 1 million. Am I doing the math right? That's right, right?
It's multiple millions a day, and that's just from Candy Crush. And they have other IPs, and some of the reasoning that I heard was that Activision, I guess, isn't a big player in the mobile space, and so they're acquiring a mobile division. I mean, it's just like,
yeah, that was
we own this now.
That's what I think the Activision president was all about. He was like, look, we're not in the mobile space. We don't have a lot of female people in our community, and this was our ability to buy right into it. And they had tried in the past and not been successful, and this was just sort of just to add cash apparently. and every business is kind of like that, right? You sell the business based on current revenue projected out. So if you're making $100,000, then you say, okay, well, I'll sell it based on 2 years, 3 years revenue or whatever, right? And then it's up to the buying company to figure out how they're going to make that back. But long term, they should be able to make their money back plus some. So you're always kind of buying on the ability to make your money back in the long term. So, and I think that Activision will. I mean, I think they'll work it out.
Well, and King is a publicly traded company, so I think as crazy as the number was, I don't know. It's not like it was completely plucked out of thin air, right? I mean, it's
right.
The value of the company based on the prevailing stock price and all that type of thing.
Yeah, and you could, of course, it's some transactions are, you got acquihire too, right? I mean, they're buying. They're not only just buying the intellectual property, but they're buying a team of people who are battle tested and know how to do what Activision wants to be able to do. So as long as they can keep them interested and on board, then they've got a good deal.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I good to King. I mean, go King, because Candy Crush, I've always felt like was it's just a matching game.
It is just a matching game.
And a poorly done one, I think. I mean, I've seen much better ones.
Although, you say that, but you know what? I've seen so many people try to turn Corona Crush or whatever we're calling it at this time into that game. I've gotten so many questions from people saying, how do I make the thing do like in Candy Crush? I'm like, well, make it like in Candy Crush. Don't ask me.
Right. Yeah. Well, and that's the piece, right? Is that they figured out how to turn. It's not about the. I don't think it's about the quality of the game. Okay, it's about whether or not you can convert the gameplay into dollars. And King figured out how to convert the gameplay into dollars.
The most valuable member of their team is whatever psychologist they've got.
Right. Right.
It is. I wanted to say that I don't have anything against people trying to turn the game that I wrote for Corona into Candy Crush and exploring the mechanics, but it's just I wanted to point out that I get that question all the time.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. And it's a valid thing to bring up, right? I mean, not just like we just said. It's not a matter of just matching or just creating a clone. There's a certain amount of marketing and things that go along with it. I know, for example, what's the guy? Corona developer. Looking at the apps right now. He was the one that did Pop the Lock. He's got another. What is the name of that?
Pop the Lock's still in the top 10, man.
Kurt is his name, I think.
Rob, do you know? But do you remember the name of the studio?
No.
For Pop the Lock?
Yeah.
Simple Machines or something like that? Simple Machine, yeah.
Yeah, let me look it up.
Simple Machine.
Simplemachine.io or
.llc. Oh, the website? I'm not sure.
io.com.
.co.
.co. Yeah, I know it was one of those. Thank you.
Smooth. I liked Smooth. I
take it back. They fell down to position 16. Simple Machines LLC.
I know what game you're thinking about. Tomb Breaker.
Tomb Breaker, man, that game is it's very well done. I mean, it is like the graphics on it are sweet, and the gameplay is fun, and all those things. I mean, it's by far a much better game in my personal opinion than Candy Crush. But like again, Candy Crush is optimized for turning gameplay into dollars.
Yeah, it's got multiple mechanisms for doing that. I
Yeah,
read an
I'll put the
interesting
chat-
article
the chat
about
just-
Candy Crush doing. So they got a variety of in-app purchases, right? But they did another interesting thing, which was, and I mean, I should say another. That's wrong. They did an interesting thing in which they have a variety of, you could consider them power-up pieces that do special things. But what they did was they introduced sort of like a low-power version of that for free as you were playing along, to get you addicted to the concept of it. And then he said, you like that? Here's the big brother. You get 3 of them for 99 cents, you know, something like that. So I thought, yeah, that's kind of ingenious. It's really split up that whole in-app purchase psychology a bit.
Mhm.
Get them
Yeah, get you-
addicted to the crack.
Yeah, yeah. Take the because you're right, because there is a moment of consideration, right? If you present somebody with a question, like would you like A or B, then they have to stop and figure out and do an evaluation. They have to figure out what does that mean, which one is better. But if you've done that all along without any sort of threat or consequence, then when you come to the point where you're asking them to make a choice, then they don't even have to think about it, right? They're like, oh yeah, I've done this before. Boop. Interesting. Yeah, the psychologist. You're right. You're absolutely right, Jason. That person should get some bonuses.
Yeah.
I'm sure he or she did.
He or she gets some bonuses. That person.
You know, that can be really good. I mean, I work with a person now who was a was it PopCap? No, PopCap is the Plants vs. Zombies people, right? It was Who's Draw Something.
Didn't they do Bejeweled too?
I'm not sure. But who was Draw Something? Draw Something was... anyway, she worked for the Draw Something people right before they were acquired by Zynga. And Zynga mismanaged that, and you know, Draw Something arguably didn't have the legs that people thought it was going to have.
OMG Pop.
But OMG Pop, that was it. But good for her, man. Good for her and everybody who was there. When you got employee options in a company that gets bought by some huge conglomerate. So
That's one of my dreams, is to get bought by the big guy.
You remember the Homer Simpson version of that back in the day when
buy them out, boys.
when Bill Gates comes to Homer, like Homer made his own computer, then Bill Gates comes with 2 goons behind him and says, "Hey, I've heard that I really been watching what you do, and I want to buy out your company." And Homer's like, "This is it. I'm going to be rich." And of course, and he agrees, and then Bill Gates is like, "All right, buy him out, boys." And the goons come in and start kicking his desk over, breaking all of his stuff. And of course, Homer's like, "Oh."
And Bill Gates says, "What? You didn't think I got this rich by writing a lot of checks, did you?"
That is one of my favorite all-time episodes.
What was it, Hyperglobal Megacorp or something like that?
Something, yeah. It was just something stupid, yeah. Back in
I
the
don't
day.
think he made anything. He just had a name. He just had a cool name.
Yeah. Yeah, and it was just it was the circular pencil holder on his desk, and just he'd set up a business.
Yep.
Buy him out, boys. Hey, did you guys see? That this this thing about? It's exciting, isn't it? Instagram. There's this thing called Insta Agent that you can no longer get on Google Play and/or the Apple Store because they took it. Both of them took it down. But it was called Instant Agent. Insta Agent, and it was supposed to be one of these like it would connects to Instagram and promises to track the people that have visited a user's Instagram account. So it's kind of like you're trying to get followers or you're trying to do some marketing or whatever. Anyway, the Insta Agent was doing a couple of things. One, storing everybody's username and password in clear text, and two, posting things to their accounts. So it would post images to your Instagram account, like, do you want to see, like an ad almost, who viewed your Instagram profile, and marketing to your friends of friends sort of thing. Did you guys see that?
No.
No,
So-
I'm out of the loop, man.
It's like
But-
This is like the public service announcement right here. This is the app portion of the public service, and it's cross-platform too, because it affected iOS and Android. So
And did it get like a ton of downloads before they took it down?
absolutely, they said Google Play Store, the app had between 100 and 500,000 users. It says it's not as that popular in the U.S., but it was popular in the UK and Canada. So that's a lot of people.
Yes, it is.
So I think I guess the takeaway there though is, like, it seems a little scary to be giving your username and password to accounts, right? Because if your Instagram account is, say, the same login as your Facebook or the same login as your bank,
Yeah. I mean, if even there's a tiny cross, section of that, that's.
Yeah. I mean, because you think about it, you're like, well, you know what? I won't give, like I'm not gonna give everybody here on this call my username and password, but this completely unknown developer who promises to give me some sort of benefit, I'll log into their system and give them all my credentials.
I respect your privacy.
Yeah, totally.
You can trust me. I got a end user license agreement you're not going to read.
It's like South Park. I never read those things. You mean every time they send one of those things out, you read it? Exactly, man.
And whoever does, I've tried, but I get like through paragraph 2, I give up.
I tell you what, there's a documentary on Netflix about terms of service. You watch that, and you won't ever leave your house again. You won't ever agree to anything. You'll shut off all your services. You won't do anything. Because it pretty much is like, given by the time you've agreed to all the different agreements, you've pretty much given away every right to privacy that you ever had.
Terms of service on what?
On Netflix.
Netflix.
Yeah, watch it. Watch it, but
Rob Freeman?
but don't be like go outside and listen
I
to
may
this.
never talk again on your show. Sorry.
Yeah, right. Listen to the birds and see the sunshine, because you'll be depressed after that.
Oh man.
I don't need that kind of help.
It's an educational piece, but also sort of like, it takes you a moment. Like, it took me a moment where I was like, well, you know what, I'm not giving up my stuff. I'm like, well, okay, whatever. I've already signed it. I'm good. I'm in the club. So I'm looking through here. I'm scrolling through 9 to 5 Mac and Mac rumors to see what other goodies we can talk about. Does anybody got anything in particular they want to talk?
Anybody working on anything? Anybody got anything
I'm trying
coming
to
out
solve a
soon?
technical problem right now.
There's this tvOS thing I'm working on. Other than that, no.
I'm only
Okay.
giving it like 1/4 of my brain now, which, of course, that doesn't matter. No.
1/4 of my brain. It's the quarter of my brain that's filled with old rusty pennies.
No wonder my head tilts to the left so much.
That's exactly it.
How do pennies get rusty is the question.
So, who said earlier they were going to buy an iPad Pro eventually?
Well, eventually.
Would you buy Would you buy the tablet? I mean, not tablet. The keyboard that goes with it, or doesn't go with it?
I'd get the pen first.
Yeah.
Yeah,
me
I
too.
agree with that.
Yeah, I think I'm just going to get the pencil. We get the pencil
The
first.
stylus.
I really don't know that I feel that much of a need to have the keyboard. It's not like I'm going to write programs on it or long form letters on it, or I mean, I don't know. I don't.
Well, I got a usage model for it, which I'm not going to talk about, but now we're talking about so much additional investment that I just totally wait.
Well, I even on the Surface, I bought the keyboard that the type cover that goes with it, or that, I guess doesn't go with it, but that accompanies it or whatever is built for it, and I don't find myself typing on it as much as you would think. I mean, it serves as a better cover for the device than it does as a keyboard.
Michael, is that a Surface Book that you held up?
It is, yeah.
Ooh.
What?
How you like that thing?
He's holding out on us.
I actually really like it. I've never been huge on tablets or laptops, but it's serving me very well.
How can see he's got a Surface Book?
They're just selling them. Can't you just you can go into a Microsoft store and go buy them?
Yeah. No. How can you see that he has a Surface Book?
Oh, he held it up to the
I held it
camera.
up.
Oh, I wasn't looking. Oh, okay. Oh, I see. And okay, so tell us about the hinge. Do you like the hinge?
I have no opinion on the hinge.
You don't have no opinion on the hinge. You don't like that. Or do you care that it doesn't lay flat?
No, not at all. It's in my backpack just fine. I kind of like that the screen moves back more as part of that unhinging process. Otherwise, I have no opinion.
And when you take it off the keyboard, do you like the experience when it's in tablet mode?
I do. I was giving it to my sister. She draws a lot, so she was doing me some little doodles. And yeah, I've been taken into bed, watched a movie before bed. It's great, light.
How is it in the bathtub?
I haven't got that one. A little expensive to be doing it.
Yeah, right. What's the battery life like on it when it's not in a laptop mode, or it's in mobile mode?
I don't know, a few hours. It's not that great. 3-4 hours.
I thought the report that I heard was like 2 to 3 hours or something like that.
Maybe. I don't use it a whole lot. If I'm in bed, I watch a movie before bed. It gets me through it.
That's it.
And then I charge it. Yeah.
Huh.
Do you mind if I ask how you outfitted it in terms of storage and all the rest of that? Like whether you sprung for all the bells and whistles or?
I have the i7 16 gigs of RAM, 512 gigs of storage.
Is that the top end or is that the middle configuration?
It was when I ordered it. They announced a 1 terabyte version.
Oh.
I probably wouldn't have bought it anyway. It's.
I think I'd go for a terabyte.
Well, it's kind of like that MacBook luxury item. Could have bought like a Dell XPS. It's probably just as good.
Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah. So you were right. It's a luxury item. You weren't after just another laptop. You wanted a specific value proposition.
I wanted a stylus. I wanted a touch screen, and I wanted like a laptop, not like a Surface normal tablet. So it kind of hit that sweet point for me that does kind of everything that I wanted. So.
Did you go look at the Surface 4? Was it Surface 4 Pro?
No, I haven't.
So you just knew that this is what you wanted. You didn't want to try to comparison shop on it.
Well, after playing with like the Surface Pro 4 and some other like the previous iterations, it might have been good for me, but I think this is a more solid choice for my day-to-day work.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, because I know there seems like there's a definite split there. I mean, you're either kind of in the Surface Pro camp or you want still a traditional laptop.
Well, I held it up because you guys were talking about keyboards, and that's like why I bought it. I have to have like a dedicated keyboard and this like flimsy flip cover sort of stuff.
Yeah, well, you're gonna
a real keyboard.
You're gonna spend all day on it, like 12, 18 hours a day, right? I'm serious. I mean, there's long days. There's long days.
Yeah.
It's a short day for you, right, Michael?
It is.
Michael's not laughing, so that's not funny.
Hey, I've seen Michael's emails and stuff. He
burns the midnight oil for sure.
Yeah, man.
I'm watching you on Slack, man. The light's always green. I know what's going on there.
Yeah. He's got the what is that, ambidextrous sort of thing going on where he's got two keyboards. I bet you 2 different screens, 2 different keyboards. He's over here in Slack. He's over in email, writing code. Writing code. He's got his nose. He's got his pencil in his teeth.
No, sorry for the aside. You mentioned keyboards.
No, I like the type cover
one.
as a keyboard, but what drives me nuts about it is the trackpad. It's just too small, and I'm spoiled by having used Apple.
You don't
touch input devices.
You don't just touch the screen?
I will. It depends on. Well, I lost my pen. Remember, so.
Well, you can still touch the screen.
I know. It depends. It depends on what I'm using it for. I found it. I started trying to throw that in my bag as like a on the go. Oh, I'm at lunch. I feel like I'm at a coffee shop. I feel like maybe opening up a project. I'm working on it. And the screen size is just a little on the small side for me. I'm also there's the subtle differences between Corona on the PC and on the Mac, and I think because I'm so used to the way it works on the Mac, some of it just feels a little weird to me. But no, it's fine. I'm curious with you because you and I have the same one. We both have the Surface 3, which I opted for, A, for price considerations, B, because the slightly smaller size appealed to me in terms of a on-the-go type of device. I have found Windows 10 came out really pretty shortly after I bought it, but it seems to have taken a slight performance hit in my completely anecdotal evidence. It felt like it ran a little smoother on Windows 8.
I expected more from Windows 10. I think that's my analysis of it. I don't know. I haven't particularly noticed any kind of performance hits, but I will also say that I haven't used it in about a month.
Yeah.
I mean, like the last time I used it, I changed my password, and now I can't remember what my password is. So, and Microsoft makes you jump through hoops to get your password, to recover it. And I'm usually like, because with like an iPad, right? You're like, you kind of just turn it on and you just use it, and you're like, yeah, And then in your computer, you turn it on, you use it, and you're like, yeah, But with the Surface, it seems like if you don't remember your password, you're like, you gotta go and jump through all these hoops, and I'm usually like turning it on to do something right then. I don't want to spend the next 10 minutes resetting my password, and so I just put it down and I go use something else. And that's been my primary experience so far, is that I can use something else easier.
There's a couple of things you can do. You can, at least in Windows 10, you can set a PIN. And one thing that I don't get hyped about a lot of things, but one thing I really love about this device is Windows Hello. If you use that at all, it's awesome. You just like sit in front of your computer and it unlocks for you.
That's the one where it does the face recognition, right?
Yeah. Has like you can see it has 2 extra cameras here. One's infrared, and the other one is.
See, I think maybe the Surface 4 Pro or Surface whatever, Pro 4 or whatever the term. I think it has that, but I don't think that the Surface 3 have that.
I did set up the gesture-based or the photo password.
Yeah.
Where it throws a photo and you trace a series of strokes or dots or whatever that you define.
Maybe I should do that because I think I can remember that stuff.
I did do that because I didn't always want to use the keyboard, and I hate typing a password out on a soft keyboard. It drives me nuts.
Right. Yeah. So that's basically where I am right now. It's sitting there, and I know I need to go reset the password, but it hasn't been enough of an issue, and I can always do something with some other device that I have, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Which is kind of sad. Michael's shaking his head. I'm like, on getting things done, I'm like path of least resistance. I'm like, if I couldn't get it into my Mac, I'd be like, where's my phone? I mean, okay, I'll just do it on my phone. I'm done. I'm like, I don't want something to slow me down. If something slows me down, if it does it too many times, it's out of here.
Now, okay. Michael, how are you going to play Fallout 4? Will you venture it to see how it can be pushed on the Surface Book, or do you have a dedicated machine for that type of thing?
I have a dedicated machine that I built with a 34-inch ultrawide monitor. I'm not going to bother on the Surface.
Yeah.
Like a gaming PC that you built? Is that what you're talking about? Oh, okay. Or,
No, I actually haven't bought it yet. I'm playing Legacy of the Void first. More of a StarCraft guy.
Playing Legacy what?
Legacy of the Void, StarCraft 2.
And how is
What
that?
did you say? What is it?
StarCraft 2?
StarCraft?
Oh, StarCraft. I think it said Star Tropics too. I was like,
No.
You don't need a high-powered PC to play that.
Man, you're over there. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm just imagining trying to play a modern PC game like Fallout 4 on any kind of mobile, semi-mobile device or laptop or whatever.
It's actually not bad on this. I played StarCraft 2 on high settings on the Surface Book, and it runs great.
I would think. I mean, the specs you laid out certainly. I mean, it's not going to have the top-of-the-line graphics card, but
Is it fanless, or does it have a fan noise?
It has a fan. It doesn't come on often. Right now, this MacBook is blowing air for some reason. I don't know why. But
That's Hangout. Hangout does that.
Heard the Surface Book come on.
I'll tell you,
You tell us all we're full of hot air.
yeah, I can have 40 tabs open and be doing Final Cut Pro and everything on this MacBook Air, and it just doesn't even blink. But then I bring up a Hangout and it's like, oh my word! I don't know what they're doing.
How's that again?
Oh my word!
Very good. You sound like an old man. Oh, my cranky knees. Oh. Hey, I got a question for you guys. I got several questions, but before I forget, does anybody know what the virtual keyboard is going to look like on the iPad Pro in landscape mode?
I mean, it's the same
Take up the full width of the screen? Is it going to be really tall?
I would think it would just take up the full width of the screen, but I don't know.
I hope not. I hope they have something like on Windows where it kind of splits the keyboard and you can tap at it from both sides. Maybe edge of the
Oh, but you
screen.
can already do that.
Yeah.
I'm asking because I'm trying to think forward to the form factor landscape iPad Pro, making the best usage of that space. But I need a keyboard for my app, and I'm not sure how tall it's going to be, so I'm having trouble estimating. Because I thought I saw an article where somebody was talking about how they were going to do a edge-to-edge keyboard that was adaptive for the iPad Pro, so it wouldn't be too tall. That way you can get all the keys in there and still have plenty of visual real estate left. So, anyways.
They have a design page here. I'm trying to see if they show pictures of it.
Yeah, they don't show their keyboard. The last time I looked on the Apple page, never
They're
shows
not
the
even
keyboard.
willing to commit to a release date next week.
Let's show their keyboard. Let's save that for later.
They're just going to say, there'll be one, probably.
There might be one on there.
Well, the problem is that when you say iPad Pro keyboard, you get
The physical one.
Yeah, the physical one, or the aftermarket manufacturer versions of it, or something. You even get a bunch of Surface images. Yeah, and when it's docked with the keyboard, then the virtual one doesn't come up.
Then you get the whole screen. But you can't rely. I'm not going to rely on people all having a virtual or a physical keyboard.
So you want to know? Okay, so I get where you're going. You want to know how much of the screen real estate is taken up by this virtual keyboard.
Yeah.
That's what
I'm
you're
doing
saying.
an app that uses text input. You guys know which one it is.
Yeah.
And I've got a limited space there, but with the iPad Pro, you get a much bigger screen. So I'm hoping they do something in landscape mode, which is efficient.
Well, they say on the Apple site that it's 78% bigger than the iPad Air 2. In terms of screen size. So I'm like, that's
I'm still torn between
it's pretty big.
landscape or portrait for my app because I really like portrait, but if you're going to be tilting it up, if you guys got an iPad, you know how it is. These things get top heavy after a while. So it's already going to be top-heavy in landscape mode, much less when you tilt it up portrait.
Yeah.
If I link the video, it shows the iPad Pro with the attached keyboard and the on-screen keyboard as well, and it does pick up the entire bottom.
Oh, so you got a video? I just saw your link here.
Yeah.
Oh, it's got audio. Stop. It's got an advertisement. I won't watch it now. I see my mug in reflection. You said second 28. I'll watch it. Hands on the iPad Pro keyboard. Oh. Okay. I will look. That was the answer I'm looking for.
Now we're all looking. I'm watching it too.
Yeah. You're watching the ad or you're watching the video?
No, I'm watching the video. So the guy's got the physical keyboard hooked to it, and then he pushes a button, and then the virtual keyboard pops up. Yep, there it is. So yeah, it goes probably let's just say a third of the screen real estate is taken up.
Almost half.
Less than half. Yeah, somewhere less than half. I mean
You might have
the home button. If the home button is in the middle of the whatever the screen, the horizontal top to bottom there, whatever the X plane X, then this keyboard doesn't come up quite to it. So yeah, almost half. Big buttons though. What? What did I say? You got some big buttons.
got big buttons in it.
Those other keyboards can deny.
The only question I got left for the evening is, are you going to go see Warcraft?
God, no.
Warcraft.
I watch YouTube videos and you get these like random ads, and I got an ad. I'm like, is this an ad for a video game or what? They're making World of Warcraft or Warcraft, one of the Warcraft. What they're making a movie.
Huh?
That's
Isn't that what the what do you call that? Conferences are for?
I don't know, man.
think so, but-
I never got on board with it.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Who's going to go
I
watch
know what
that?
Warcraft is. I know original Warcraft. Maybe Warcraft 2. I played Warcraft 2 back in college. But
I played 1, 2, and 3. If it's based on that, I'll watch the movie. If I gotta play World of Warcraft to get what the movie's about, then
I didn't even do 3. I didn't do the 3D.
So you think is this movie for the fan base, or do you think that they're using it as kind of a marketing gimmick to try to revitalize the brand? Or is that overthinking it?
I think they're doing it.
It's the most popular MMO out there. I don't think they need to revitalize much.
Yeah, but they've probably reached like saturation, right? I mean, people who know about it either play it or don't.
I don't know that a movie is necessarily the way.
I mean, there's a whole new generation of credit card holders coming online every day, right? So.
Still, though, you got to figure it's. I mean, they've got a subscription model, right? I mean, no matter how successful this movie is, it's not going to earn as much as they earn.
I have no idea why they're doing it.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's got to be for the fan base. It's got to be for the
8 million subscribers. That's 8 million people potentially who go see your movie.
Yeah.
Along with whoever they bring along.
Right.
That's all I want to know is Leroy Jenkins going to be in there?
Leroy Jenkins, who's that?
Oh my gosh, I got to put the link in here.
So now you're
Yeah, I don't know. You lost me.
You guys don't know Leroy Jenkins?
I know who bad Leroy Brown is. He's the baddest man in the whole dang town.
You're muted, Ed. We're not hearing anything you're saying right now.
I said I put the link. Sorry, I mute myself all the time to be polite, and then I wasn't talking. So Leroy Jenkins, it's funny. You should watch the video later. Don't watch it now. But it's World of Warcraft, and people really very serious about this game. Some people are very serious, or were very serious about this game. So it's a bunch of guys working real hard to win this level, and clearly 9 out of the 10 guys are serious, or whatever the number is. But one of the guys is off getting chicken or something. He's not paying any attention. And so they're strategizing and working out the details, and he comes in, well, let's go, guys. Leroy Jenkins runs in, totally messes up the whole thing. And you could tell from the audio from the other guys are like, what you doing? So, we better go, guys, go! And then run in there, and then everybody dies, and then they gotta wait a half an hour for the reset. It's like
Leroy Jenkins.
Leroy, you're such that.
I think the video though is a recreation because they didn't capture the original, so it's
I'm sure it's
not even as bad as it was the first time.
Oh, that's hilarious.
You could just imagine if you've ever played an online multiplayer game, you had to have had one Leroy in your group. So
that's hilarious.
I have to admit, I never have played any of those games. Not really. I want to say in college I knew some. Tribes 2.
Oh, that's it. I'm hanging you up.
No. I want to say I owned a copy of Tribes 2. That wasn't like... See, I want to say when I played Tribes 2, I approached it the way, at the time, you would have approached Unreal Tournament. So
Please tell me you played many hours of Unreal Tournament 4, I think it was. The one that's still alive today. You could still find stuff.
No, I played the number of hours of Unreal Tournament. Period.
Original?
I'm not sure which number it was. But
Yeah.
the one with Quake 2 style graphics,
Oh, Quake 2. I loved it. What was the mod for Quake 2 that gave you like grappling hooks or whatever?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, good. See, you almost lost all cred with me until you said.
And rocket. What was it? It was rocket. So you'd make yourself jump real high with the rockets, right? What was it? What'd you say?
I was just, I don't know if you heard me. I said you almost lost all cred with me when you said, something, until you said the grappling hooks.
I was never super duper into online stuff. I mean, a little bit. Like I used to play Warcraft 2 with friends, but like people I knew in real life. Like it never did it for me. The whole.
I'm fundamentally against anything that takes money out of my bank account every month.
No. Tribes 2 is free. I mean, the game cost you, but the servers were free.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I don't pay for servers. Forget about that.
Yeah.
No, I didn't say I was serious about World of Warcraft.
No, but I appreciate that that could be a really fun thing. I mean, sometimes I'll hear people talk about, either World of Warcraft or Destiny or whatever the new thing that people are playing, and at this point, the time commitment is just like, forget it. I just can't even think about it. But
no, it's just a sign you're just getting too old, Jason.
Well, there's that too. But no, but even when I didn't have that convenient excuse, even when I was younger, it was just like I remember I'd try to play, Halo online or whatever, and it just didn't. It was never my thing.
I tell you, after you spend a whole day playing a game, to the point where you don't even you look up, like you get up in the morning, you play the game, and then you look up, and it's almost dark outside, and it's one of those moments where you're just like, what else could I have done with my life?
That's the moment you go, yes, a day well spent. Awesome to have all that free time.
Oh.
No, but here's the thing. I've spent days doing that.
Yeah.
And the only time it's happened where I've been able to get sucked in for these long haul. Usually it's not full days. Usually it's more like starts at night, and then it's like, oh crap, it's 5 a.m. Is with more solitary experiences.
Solitaire is a great game.
I definitely sunk back in the day a number of late nights into something like the BioWare Star Wars games, or the Fallout games. I guess, I don't know, there's something about online stuff just never did it for me. And I had a bunch of friends in college who did EverQuest and all that type of stuff, but never understood it. It never grabbed me. I don't know.
It has different pulls for different people.
Yeah.
People play social games for a lot of different reasons. Some play to be trolls, some play to collaborate, some play to be leaders, some play because they're lonely. You know what I'm saying?
No, but the weird thing is the part of it that I think I kind of get and that I could see getting into is the social aspect. I think that's cool. But it also, to me, puts a weird sense of responsibility. Like if I'm playing with other people, I can't just drop out. I've got to be, invested. I've got to do this, and I'm like, I want to be lazy when I'm playing the game.
I liked playing like Tribes 2 because it had a single player mode, or it had a multiplayer mode too, where you could just play against the bots.
Mm-hmm.
So a server would populate with bots if nobody was around, or you could pre-populate it with bots. But of course, the AI is never as good as people. So when you played against people, the depth of the game went way up.
Yeah.
So as far as like the things you had to think about and watch out for and strategize to win the game.
Yeah, I'm also just crap at first-person shooters.
And that's why I like
I
Tribes.
didn't realize I was crap at them until you play with other people, and then you realize you're crap at those games.
Like I played Halo online after playing hundreds of hours of Tribes 2, and I totally sucked. It was like, why was I so bad at Halo when I was so good at Tribes or Tribes 2?
My go-to move for any first-person shooter is friendly fire.
Oh, I thought it was going to be teabagging, but all right.
No, it's friendly fire, man. I'm always like, boom! Oh, my bad. Sorry.
You're not allowed to do that. You can blow yourself up, though. That's funny.
You know what game I'd like to play? You know what type of first-person game I'd like to play online? I think you could play online, at least locally, is Portal 2. God, that's just such a good game.
I like that one.
That's such a good game.
Yeah. Lots of strategy stuff there, right? Like mind bending, sort of like think outside the box kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I like those. So, all right, guys. Well, we're at the 2-hour mark, so I think we should go do other stuff.
Leroy Jenkins.
Out.
Nice. All right. Well, I'm gonna stay up and see if iPad Pro comes online at 12 o'clock, which it probably won't. But if it does, I might possibly pre-order one. What's that?
Pre-order one and send it. Let me. I'll type in my PO box. You can send it there. Okay.
Yeah. My plan is to pre-order, and then walk into the store and buy one, and then cancel the pre-order.
Oh my goodness.
That's my plan.